to hear me well. So welcome to our 22nd webinar. I'm Samar Dridi. I'm going to moderate this webinar today. Our webinar today is entitled Google Forms for Formative Assessment with Mr. Bassem Rahmouni. I'm sure many of you already know Mr. Bassem, but let me introduce him. He is a Microsoft innovative teacher 3 times for in 2021, 2022, and 2023. He's also a Microsoft certified educator, a Minecraft Global Manta, a Nearpod certified educator. He is as well an ambassador of several educational platforms like Wakelet, Edmodo, Edpuzzle, and many others. Welcome, Mr. Bassem and all our colleagues. Before starting, let me remind you first that this webinar is being recorded, and of course, if you have any questions or any comments, we will have some time by the end of the webinar for Mr. Bassem, of course. I think that is all. Mr. Bassem, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Samar, for this introduction. Again, I'm really happy to meet again and to be present in the U-innovative community of teachers to exchange ideas, to learn from each other, and to discover new things. And today we are going to deal with Google Forms. Okay, so let me first share my screen. And please tell me if you see my screen.
Okay. Yes, now we can see the slides.
Okay, great. So as you mentioned before, today's webinar is entitled Google Forms for Formative Assessment. And I think that the majority of the attendees are already familiar with the different types of assessment, but today we are specifically dealing with the formative assessment and how we can use the Google Forms to assess our students. So I'll start with a quote from Dylan William, who is a professor of educational assessment. And he said, as soon as the students get a grade, the learning stops. And here comes the role of the formative assessment, which is really important. And I would like to start with this introduction really quickly because we need to move on. And by the way, my presentation is going to be divided into 2 parts. The largest part will be devoted to the practical part, if we can call it that way. And the first part is about the rationale behind using as a tool for formative assessment. So first, why formative assessment? Of course, we know that the assessment is for both of us, teachers and other students, it's like painful experience. Okay, if the teachers spend a lot of time designing the exams, are designing the right questions for their students, and the students, of course, will struggle to try to answer and figure out the answers. Again, the assessment or the normal ways of assessment or the summative assessment is used as an accountability measure. It only measures the accountability of the students, and the students are accountable for what they do. Again, the learning experience in the formative assessment is paramount compared to the test performance. And the final point is that we need reliable ways to track and understand students' knowledge. And this is the key point behind this webinar, where we are going to use Google Forms, which provides instant, actionable, regular and accurate feedback. And here we can say that Google Forms is the right tool to conduct the formative assessment. It's one of the tools, by the way, because we all know that Microsoft has got another, let's say, platform or another, let's say, product, which is Microsoft Forms. But we know there are several limitations related to Microsoft Forms compared to Google Forms, and that is that the Google Forms is totally free. So Google Forms, what is it? So it's survey administration. I know that many of you have already filled in a form, and especially that our inspectors collect some information using forms. So you may be familiar with some words that I'm going to use. So Google Forms is a survey administration software. It includes different services. It's one of the different services that Google provides, like Google Docs, Slides, and Sheets. It's totally free, and that's one of the most important things, that Google Forms is totally free. You don't have to create accounts or buy licenses or something like this. It's web-based, so this means that you need to be or to access the internet to take advantage of the Google Forms. And also it's offered by Google, which is something beneficial for all the users who use computers, and also if you use mobile devices, like especially the Android devices. Even the iOS devices can install Google Forms and can use them. So this is really important when it comes to being free, and also the ease of access. And this leads us to talk about the four major, let's say, benefits of Google Forms compared to other let's say, platforms. The first one is that it's totally free, compared, as I said a few minutes ago, it's compared to Microsoft Forms. It's totally free. Microsoft Forms, yes, it's totally free, because Microsoft Forms, you need to have a professional email. Again, it's very easy and user-friendly. So as we will discover later on, the use of Google Forms is really self-explanatory, and you can really use it from the first time you access the website. Again, it provides instant feedback, and we'll come to that when we talk about how it is important to give teachers, let's say, an insight about the results of students, especially that this is the important part when we talk about the formative assessment, where the teachers will evaluate if there are some learning gaps or there are some problems related to the lesson they taught. And also it's well developed for learning. So this means that there are many functionalities that are important for us as teachers, because you know that Google Forms is not only for educational purposes. Even companies and personal use is an option, but for educators, it also offers a lot of functionalities that we are going to have a look at them in a few minutes. Okay, so why do we use or when do we use Google Forms? We use it, as I said, for different purposes. We use it as teachers to collect opinions or to ask for opinions, for registration of students, for assessment, and that's what we are talking about today, and also to collect information, especially when we meet with students for the first time or at the beginning of the year, when we want to take to collect their emails or their mobile phones, if they accept to give them course. Of course, it's again used in some cases to register the attendance, and also to collect assignments and answer sheets. So you can see that we can use it in different ways, and each teacher has got the ability to use it in different ways. And this is thanks to the different functionalities that or the different types of questions that we are going to discover, because each one of these options requires a specific question or specific type of question in order to get to the objective that the teacher has already planned. Okay, now how can we access Google Forms? As I said, Google Forms is a service provided by Google, and Google is a very well-known, let's say, search engine. But also it provides, it's provided with the Android mobile phones. It's already embedded in the mobile phone system and the Play Store if we are using the Android systems. If you are using the computer, you still have access to them through Chrome or through any other browser. So you can just type forms.google.com and you will find yourself in the website. But here, under one condition, that you have a Gmail account. So this is a must. You should have a Gmail account. You cannot access the Google Forms or any Google service if you don't have a Gmail account. Gmail email, I mean. So here, having a Gmail account is a must. And also you should be, of course, connected to the internet. You can also connect or access the Google Forms through using the Gmail, and I will explain that later on practically how you are going to do this. And you can also go to your Google Drive. We're still with Google services again. You go to Google Drive in your computer or in your mobile phones, and you will also have access to the Google Forms from there. So these are the three options that you can use to access Google Forms. Great. Now here it's just first, let's say, glance on how can we create, or it's like an outline of how we can create a Google Form. So I wrap up with the theoretical part, because I think that all of you are eager to find out how to do that in practice. So first you need to access, of course, the Google account or Google Docs services. Then you have to create your or design your form, of course, with the different questions or different types of questions. Of course, then you are going to select the type of question that suits the different objectives that you plan for, and then you share it with your students or with your colleagues if you want to collaborate with your colleagues. And we know that, of course, sharing links with the students and teachers is really easy when it comes to URLs or also to QR codes and different ways. We'll come back to that later on. Okay, now, so let's take off. Let's have a look at the step-by-step guide on how to create your Google Form. So here there are two options. If you would like to follow me, I suggest that you use the browser. If you would like to have really a practical part, and if you want to just watch me how I explain and just go back to the recording later on, you are able to do that, of course. So of course now we move on to the practical part. Here I do move to my Google, let's say. So this is the website that everybody knows. So here, how are we going to access the Google Forms from here? So here we can go just to these dots, and here we find different services provided by Google, including your account. Of course, you must have an account. You must be you must log into your account first. Of course, I said that you need a Gmail account in order to access this. Of course, you need to go to google.com, do Google, and then you move on to the right-hand corner, and you will find these dots, the 9 dots. Then you scroll down, and you'll find the forms here, okay? Google Forms from here. So this is the first option, and then you can just click on it. So this is the first way to access Google Forms. The second one is just to type forms, okay? forms.google.com. So that's the second way. Okay, forms.google.com. Again, you'll find yourself there. So this is the Google Forms. So we'll come back to the interface and explain the different options you've got here. The third option is to go to drive.google.com. So this means you go to your Google Drive. It's the same thing for the mobile phones. You go to your Google Drive, and here you need to go to New. Of course, here you'll find the different documents that are synced to your account. You move here, and then you will find it just on the top left corner. You'll find the different services: Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and Google Forms, which has got a purple color, of course. You click on it, and it leads to the same page, of course, which is creating a new form. Okay, so these are the three ways that you can access your Google Forms, the Google Form, let's say, website. So this is the interface that you'll find in front of you once you are there. Of course, we've got at the top here, you'll find a plus, which means that you are going to start from scratch, start a new form that you are going to create yourself, but you still have other templates. And here we've got a gallery, different ones, of course. And why I said it's well designed for teachers, because we've got a part or some templates used here for educational purposes. Of course, a blank quiz, an exit ticket, assessment, worksheet, course evaluation. Of course, you can access them, and then you can make the different changes that you wish for this. But I will today opt for starting from scratch. Okay. So these are the different templates that you can access. Okay, let's go back. And of course, here, at this part, you'll find the recent forms. So these are the recent forms that you've let's say created. So this is the one that I've just opened. Okay, and of course, here you'll find the name of the owner. Of course, you are the owner of these let's say forms. We'll start from here. So start a new form. Here again, we've got other options, which are the same ones that we've faced at the beginning of the when we accessed the website. Again, here you'll find the different let's say Google the different Google services provided if you would like to access one of them. Okay, let's start. So let's say that I would like to create a form. Okay, so here we'll start by the word form. Okay, let's call it my first form. Okay, of course, here you will be able to change the name. So this is the part where you are going to opt for the questions. There is another going to talk about them. I leave them to the till we create at least one or two questions. Of course, here when you create or when you write the title of the form, you are able to change the type of the fonts. Okay, there are different types here. You can also add a description. For example, I say this is the start or the beginning or anything, the first one. Okay, good. So here you add description of your form. So whatever you are going to call your form, for example, traveling, I don't know, anything. Okay, you can call it anything, whatever is the lesson that you are going to teach. Okay, so or the question or the topic of the form. And of course, here it's a description. It's optional. You can add it. If you don't want to add it, it's okay. Here on the right, you'll find a plus, and here when you just hover over it, you'll find that it says add questions. And of course, from here you can add questions. There is one here already. You can write here the question that you would like, but let's start from the left part. Here we've got the different types of questions that you can opt for. Short answers for WH questions, for example, or something like that. Paragraphs, students can use paragraphs to answer. So here, the question, for example, I don't know, what is your name? So let's call it, for example, data collection. So we'll opt for two types here. So what's your name? So here the students are going to fill in with their names. Okay, so here it's not a type multiple questions, so it's a short answer. So here the students are going to answer with their names, or you can opt for long answers. So here it's just short because the students are going to just give their names. Of course, whenever you would like to answer to add a question, of course you can go here to add the question. Okay, so as you can see, there is new space now, and it gives me the same options again here. Okay, so second thing, for example, where are you from? Okay. Okay. So here, suppose that I'm, yeah, where are you from? So here, and let's say that I will give them a multiple choice question. So as you can see here, there are different ways of asking students questions. So that's why I said that you can opt for the right questions for your form. So multiple choice, of course, it gives you the option number one. For example, here I'll say it's, for example, Twitter. Add another option, give, or for example, from SUS. Okay, and here the student, and also you can add other if the students would like to add another city where they are from. Okay, so for example, they are going to add just another, let's say, city that you didn't suggest. So it is a question or an answer that you didn't suggest in these three options. And of course, here there is no right or wrong for this because it's a form. I'll start with the forms, then we'll go to the quizzes. And that's why I didn't talk about this, because this is the difference between a quiz and a form. Okay, so and I'll just show you the difference in just a few minutes. Let's now move on to the next part. So we understood now the different let's say ways or the different types of questions. I'll come back to that because there are so many. Here, multiple checkbox, it's the same thing, but you can check two options. It's not suitable for this question, of course. We'll go to that when we deal with the quiz. Let's finish first these options. Import questions. So this is when you have got a form already filled and you would like to copy the questions from another form. So you just select the form and you just select it, and it will copy the same questions from another form, from another collaborator, or that you don't own, or that you've got it on the internet and you would like to copy the same questions. So you don't have to redo the whole thing. You can just click here, import questions, and then you click on the form that you would like to copy the questions from, and then you click on select. That's it. You'll find all the questions here. Good. Adding titles and descriptions. Of course, here, for example, this is a question. Okay, I can add to a title here to the question and some description to the question itself. Okay, add the title and description. Of course, here, if you have got different topics, you are asking about different topics or questions about different topics, you can group them into different groups, and each group with a different title. Here you can add media, you add pictures from your webcam, from your Google Drive, or even from the internet. So here you can just search for picture and you can just add it here next to the question. Okay, so here, since it is a form, you don't need to do that. We'll do this when we deal with the quizzes. And of course, the last part here, the next one is you can add a YouTube link or a video. So this is very important when it comes to interactive learning. And of course, you can add a video from a URL if you've got a link to that one. Okay. So this is the last part is adding sections. So as I said a few minutes ago, you can add titles, but you can also add sections. So when you group, so here it will divide the quiz into, or sorry, the form into different steps. Step number 1, step number 2. So the student will answer this one, then he is going to move on to the next one. So let's have a look at that. So here, if the students finishes this part, he can click next. So this means that he is moving to the next section that we divided our let's say form for. Okay. So if we remove this, so suppose that I would like to remove this section. Okay. Section 1, section 2, I'm going to remove it. Delete section, and I delete this one too. So if we go back now and have a look at the form, you'll find that it's only one page now. Back to one page. By the way, you may be wondering what's this. So this is a preview that shows the different questions that you've already prepared. Okay, so this is a form. Okay, so here they are going to answer, and here they are got to choose only one question. Okay, great. Now we discovered everything related to this part. Now let's move on and have a look here. So of course, this is self-explanatory. Here it's the preview. Here is the theme. So here it's related to everything related to customization of the form. You can customize the form the way you like it. Even the fonts, you can change them the way you like. So here, as you can see, the header. So this is the header font. The questions. As you can see, the questions have changed. You can also change the size. You change the text itself. You can also add a picture to the header. As you can see here, the header, there is nothing on the header. There is nothing here. But once I add a picture, it would be more attractive, of course. So let's say, let's choose that one. This book, for example, insert. And then it looks better now. So as you can see here, it's everything related to customization of and of course the colors will change according to the picture that you've already chosen. Of course, here you can change the color of the background of the form itself. As you can see, the background is changing different colors. So this is related to the theme. Great. And of course, this is, I said, used to the preview of the form that you've already prepared. Great. So this is a form. So this means that there is no right and wrong answers. Okay. Now let's move on to the settings. So what does make this a quiz mean? So this means that whenever you activate this, the form or these questions change from just questions to collect information like this one to questions that are graded. So for this reason, I'm going to create another quiz. Okay. I will leave that one for a while. Then we'll go back to it. As you can see, it's now saved. It's automatically saved. Okay. And then we move on to start. So now let's call it, let's say, my first test. Okay, so suppose that this is a test or a quiz. So here we are talking about uh, a, a question. Let's say it's kind of quiz that you are going to give to the students at the end of the class or at the end of a module. So you'll say, for example, answer all the questions. So this is just a reminder for the students. And then I'm going to just write anything about some questions. Uh, so for example, suppose that it is about story. Where did Jim go when he was out? So this is our first question. Okay, and here suppose that I'm going to give them a drop down. So this is the another type that we didn't discover, drop down. So option number one, let's say the shop. Option number two, the cinema. Option number three, let's say two, let's say he went to, okay, uh, let's say forest. Okay, so here I've got three questions. So here it didn't ask me for anything because for Google this is just for. But when I go here and mark this or make this a quiz, so here Google will automatically understand that I'm going to test my students and they are going to be tested on the questions, whether they are correct, wrong or correct, and try to give them marks. So if we go back now to the questions, okay, now here it there is a new option here which says answer key. So this means that now it's no longer a form to collect information or data from students with the names and emails where there is no right and wrong answers. Now the form changes to be a quiz. So this means that there are marks. So there are some marks that are automatically, let's say, assigned to the students by Google services. But there are some others that the teacher needs to moderate at the end of the test. So let's see the answer key now. So here, sorry. So here, let's check this as the correct. So here it gives you the option to check whether it's only one question or two questions or two answers, sorry. So here it's only one answer. I'd opt for one answer. And here there is no option which says the points. How or what is the number of points I would like to let's say to give my students whenever they got the correct answer. Okay, so I will allocate, for example, 5 points for this answer. Okay, so once I'm sure about my answer, because this is the correct answer now, the shop, I click done, and that's it. So let's go now and try to see what do the student see. So here it's a drop down. So the student is going to see the three options and he is going to choose one. Okay, and then he submits or she submits her answer. So I will add two more or three questions in order to make it to look better and to in order to have more data about the or more information about the different types of questions. So I've got multiple checkbox, drop down. Okay, I'll go back to the linear scale and multiple choice grid. So here, let's say the multiple choice. As he loved his wife, Bella. Okay, option number one, yes. Option two would be no. So as you can see, sometimes it just suggests the answers. The AI suggests the answers. And by the way, here you can add some pictures if you would like to add more, let's say, there are, I don't know, any example or gift of joy. Okay, so let's say that it's this one. Okay, so just an example to show you that you can add pictures to the questions. Okay, if it helps, of course, the students. Let's see how they are going to see this. Okay, so here it would say yes or no. You can add pictures that show whether it is yes or a no, in order to help students. And here it helps the teachers to differentiate instruction. Okay, great. So let's remove this picture now. Okay, and again, the answer key. And the answer is yes. And we are done with this question too. Let's add another question. And then we move on to the linear scale. How much do you think Bella loves her husband? So here it's a scale. So what does this mean? So this means that the students are going to choose from the scale of from 1 to 5 or from 1 to 10 how much she loves him. So here we are talking about the line Jim, the gift of the Magi. It's one of the stories that are taught in for the third year students. So from the scale of 1 to 10, how much? So here there is no correct or false answers. So here for this one, you're not going to find whether there is correct or wrong answer. So you just allocate points for this. Okay. Um, and of course, let's see how is the student going to see this. So how much do you think Lilith loves her husband? And here the student is going to choose from the scale of from 1 to 5. You can change the scale, of course. Okay. Good. So I'm trying to give different types of questions in order to make it clearer for you. How is this going uh, to uh, to change according to the objectives? So suppose that now students read the story and you would like to add a video that they are going to see or watch, and then according to that video they are going to give their feedback or to explain what's on that video or to try to let's say figure out what's on that video. So here it's the video is going to play very important role here. So we can say watch the video and let's say give your opinion. Watch the video and give your opinion. And as you can see here, automatically Google understood that this is not a multiple choice question, and it automatically suggests that I use a paragraph option. So it helps you even when you are lost. Sometimes, or most of the time, Google AI, the artificial intelligence, will understand that the question requires a paragraph in order to express one's opinion. So it's automatically set to paragraph. And here I'm going to add the video. Okay. For example, gift of the child. Suppose that this is the one that I would like to add. And of course, when we talk about videos, you may be wondering if we can use videos from our computers. The answer is that no, you can't. So the only two options are if you upload the video to Google, okay, you upload the video to Google if you've got a Google account, or you upload it to any other platform and then you put just the URL here, and that will be possible. You can also copy it from your drive. If you put the video in your Google Drive, you can bring it from there again with the URL. So here you need the website where the video exists, or you can just look for it from YouTube. That's it. The easiest way is to just use YouTube videos. So suppose that the students now are going to watch the video. I can also add captions here, or the title of the video, gift, or yes, gift of the joy. Okay, so the students are here going to watch the video, and then they are going to give their answers. And this part gives us more options here. So these three dots, you can here give description to the way that the students, or to the type of question. If the question is a bit complicated and you feel that the students are going to be lost, you can add some description here. But the question is pretty clear here, so we don't need that. But if the question is a bit difficult for them, or you need to guide them, and this is really important when it comes to formative assessment, or assessment in general, the instruction should be clear to the students. So you can use this to further explain the instruction that is already here. And there is also response validation. What does this mean, response validation? It has got a relationship with the response. So suppose that one student, some lazy students, will opt for just writing one sentence or 3 words. So would that be acceptable for you? No. And how am I going to push them to write more? So here I can talk about the length. So the minimum character count, for example, at least you have to type 20 words. So if the students write less than 20 words, the answer won't be counted as correct, or they won't be able to move to the next question. And I put this, and I toggle this one, or activate that it is required. Okay, so if we go back now and have a look at this, because we've got a lot of things here, a lot of different options. Let's have a look at them now. How do they look the other side? So here, as you can see, watch the video and give your opinion. Of course, the student is going to say, yes, it's okay. Okay, and then he moves to another question, and then it says must be at least 20 characters. So here I can guarantee that the student is going to write at least 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, so this is the way that we can, let's say, that's why I said at the beginning of the video, of the webinar, that it is well structured for teachers. So this is again something very important for teachers, because you don't want to end up with some students writing just one sentence for a video of 20 minutes. Okay, so that would be a waste of time and energy. And of course, here, these are the different types or ways of manipulating the questions. And if we go back to the questions now themselves, and here adding questions, there is another type of question which I would like to explain, and I think that it is really, really interesting. It's the so we add a plus here. So here, by the way, the video, sorry, I thought that, yeah. So let's move on to the next one here. Let me first divide this. Yes. So here it's better to divide it into sections instead of only one section. I will come back to the shuffle option here, shuffling the orders or changing the orders, or the order of questions. This one is done. Good. Okay, so the other type of questions I would like to explain is the multiple choice grid. Okay, so suppose that there are different characters here in this story, and I would like to find out if the students know who is this character, and what is his, what does he do in the whole story. So here, select the roles of the characters. Okay, so here we end up with two options. Here we've got rows and columns. It's like a table. It's gonna be a table. So here we've got row number one, column number one, row number two, column number two, and so on. Okay, so here the row one, let's say that it is Della. Number two is uh, let's say it's Madame Sofronio. Sofronio, sorry. Here it's James, or here is the hairdresser, and here is wife. Finally, sorry, here it's the husband. Okay, let's see how does this look. Of course, here you need to move to the next page. So here we've got the names of the characters. So you know, so here I said, as I said, because I divided this into two parts. Why two parts? Because here it has got a lot of questions with a video, and I opted for another page with different questions in order to avoid that the student is scrolling only a whole page. So select the roles of the characters. So here, Della, what's her role? She is the wife, for example, and student here is going to choose only one. Of course, the other type here is just the same one, but with a tiny difference. I would like to show all the questions because I love them. So tick the box here. It will be multiple choice. Okay, you can tick different options. For example, here instead of just choosing one role, you can choose two things, which is here. It's something that is impossible to do because that won't be the correct way to do for this type of questions. Some other questions you need sometimes to select two or more options. So, but for this question, it's not the same. Say the case. Okay, so if we go back here and we would like to change it, tick the box. Okay, and if we go back and reload it, you will find out that it won't be the right way to do this. Okay, so that's why whenever you design your form, you need to find out what's the objective behind this, and you need to know the exact type of questions, the exact type of question, the exact way to that the students are going to answer that. Because if I do something like this, I will find a lot of problems here, because here the student can select two rows or three rows, and that won't be correct. Okay, so here you need to be aware before you need to be aware while you're designing the quiz for your students to avoid such problems. Okay, this is really important, and again here it's the objective is to assess the student. So if it gives me it doesn't give me the right assessment for the students, I won't find out what I'm looking for. Okay, so here again is the same thing. You require responses in each row, so requiring answers. And there is something that I would like also to talk about, which is shuffling the row order, because when you share this with the students, uh, sometimes students, they talk to each other and they will say, hey, the answer for question number one is the option two. And for the question number two is the option three. And for question number four is the option one. And you will end up that the brilliant students will give the answers to the other students. So in order to limit this, you can shuffle the rows, or you can even shuffle the questions themselves. So here the order of the options will change from one student to the other. Okay, so here to avoid, it's not avoid, but to limit the risks that the students will just copy things from the others or try to cheat. Okay, if we can say that. Okay, so these are the different types of questions. I would like now to go back and try to have look at some other settings that are really important. I will go back to the responses. So because I would like to finish everything here, then move on. So I think that I did everything here. So this is the adding description. I talked about everything here. That's okay. Then let's move on to the settings. So I said the first one is the magic key, let's say, that changed my, let's say, form from just a form to a quiz, to a tool of assessment, okay, that I can use to assess my students whenever I feel that there is a need for that, because we are, after all, talking about formative assessment. So there are different here options. So that's why I said here that Google is well designed for educational purposes, and it helps a lot to control the different data that you will end up with. So here you can choose here from giving the marks or releasing the marks. So once the student answers all the questions, are you going to release the marks immediately? Is he going to be to see the let's say the marks? So you will, if you want your students to see their marks and you want them to find out their score, you can click here. So here immediately when the student, I will show this, it's better here. So once the student submits his let's say form, he will be able to view his score. So here he can view his score, and there is something else here, because the student here didn't answer anything. Of course, he got a 0. But let's say that this student answered some questions and some questions he didn't answer. So if he didn't answer the question, of course, he will find out the wrong questions or the wrong answers that he missed. Okay. And of course, you can also control that missed questions. So here, as it says, respondents or the students can see which questions were answered incorrectly. And if you don't want your students, again, and you want to limit your students to just giving the answers, you can just switch off this option, so that now the students cannot see which questions they got wrong. Okay, so if you click here, they will not find out which question was wrong. Okay. So this is really, really important, because, as I said, students, if you've got a class of 30 students and there are 3 or 4 brilliant students or techie students, so the whole class will copy the same things, and there will be let's say, no point behind doing all this. So I'll just switch it back on. Correct answers. The respondent can see correct answers after grades. Of course, here is the same thing. If he has got the correct answer, he can see it. Of course, you don't want to do this. Of course, point value. Do you want your student to see the points? How many points he has got? For example, 20 out of 50 or whatever is the global mark. So I always switch off all these options so that the students just send the questions. But since we are in a formative assessment, so I think that it's better not to activate this. Why? Because as we said at the beginning. So if the students got grades, they will no longer learn. So some students will be totally disappointed about their marks. So my objective is to collect the data. It's to collect the information and find out what are the problems. So it's better to switch this off in order to give the students the chance, or to try to not to hurt them, or try to, let's say, make them self-confident even when they got the wrong answers. So because the wrong answers are good for you, because you want to find out what's the problem, what are the things that the students didn't get in this story, for example. Again, here the responses, there are many information here that, or many options that you would like to change, but you know that there are some options that are by default, but I don't want to use them. So there is only one option that I would like to talk about, which is the responses here, which is very important for us as teachers. So collect email addresses. So what does this mean? So if you activate this, this means that the students' email will be sent to you. So this means once the student connects from his device, you will be able to get his or her email. So here, this is, let's say, a double-edged weapon. Why? Because sometimes students do not have emails, but they would like to answer. Okay, so the form, you can answer the form without using your email. If this option is deactivated, okay, they can answer this without just giving their emails. If you activate this, they will be prompted to give their emails in order to answer the form. Okay. Here you can also opt for sending a response or the responses to the students. If you've got their emails, of course, it will automatically send them to the students. Or if you would like to send them, it's optional. So if you choose this option for, so this means that if you would like to send if you would like to send it to your students, you can. If you don't want, it's for you. It's up to you. And here it always and automatically send the responses to the emails of your students. I don't see why, but here, if you've got some feedback, it's better to write it in the answers, then you send it. Allow responses editing. So here, if you activate this, this means that the students can change their answers after being submitted. So if you activate this, this means that they can go back after submitting their answers. They can go back and edit them and change them. Sometimes the students remember something, or sometimes they forgot to answer a question or something like that. So you activate this so that they can catch up and go back to it. Limit to one response. So this means that the student has got only one chance to answer. This is really important. If you activate this, this means that your students are only able to answer the quiz once. If they go back and they would like to answer, it will not allow them to do that. So let's see this. So suppose that this student answered, okay, and he is to answer again. So let's say it's activated now. So next. Okay, so now the email address is prompted now. Why? Because I activated collecting emails. You see now, so I cannot do anything without the email. But if I go back and deactivate it, the teacher deactivates the option of adding emails. Now it won't ask me to provide the email. So this is really important, because these tiny details might stop the whole thing. Because if you activate this, okay, and you don't know this, the students will come back the next week. I say, Oh, sir, we didn't do anything. Why? Because we don't have emails. But I didn't ask you for emails. But yes, sir, it's here. And then you find out that it's because you activated this option. So it's really, really important to have a look at all these options. So that's why I gave it all this time, because it's really important. And then suppose that this student will submit his answer. Okay, it gives me now the option to edit my answer. Okay, because I activated the editing. Okay, I activated it. Let's deactivate this, and I'm going to just answer now. And then now I don't have the option to go back. You see, you cannot edit your response. Response to this form cannot be edited. So everything has stopped now because I deactivated the editing. And I've got only one chance to answer the quiz. So you see, this is really important. There are really they are really helpful because it helps you to monitor the whole thing. Okay, to control the whole thing. Okay, it helps you to control the whole thing because when we talk about formative assessment, the point is not the score. The point is the information that you get from the students. Great. So here, manage the form and the responses, how they are presented. So this is related only to the, let's say, to the themes, and I always opt for let's say, structure of the presentation, because I think that there is no problem with it because it's really, really interesting, and nothing will happen if I go back to the presentation. It's really, really interesting. But of course, here it's just tiny options. You can see show progress bar at the bottom. So this means that at the bottom here, we go back here, I'll just show you how to do this. I always try to, so I need to deactivate this because it won't allow me to show you the not collecting emails, not responses. Okay. So as you can see, it can give you the score. That's what we talked about minutes ago. So here it shows progress bar. It's just at the bottom. If there are many pages, it just shows you a progress bar. Here, let's go again. Here we'll reload it. That's it. This is the progress bar. It's not really important. I don't think it's that important to change this. It's progress bars to find out whether you've finished this or not. But you'll find out because you'll find at the end. I don't think that teachers will opt for 6 or 7 pages of formative assessment quiz. It's something, but it's good to know this. Okay, so that's the progress bar. Shuffle questions order. Of course, this is something important that I talked about minutes ago. So this means that the questions will change from one time to the other. Okay, so here it's one. Now here it's the video is the first. Now here it's yes, no, the first. So you see each time I reload the page, the order changes. Okay, and I said this is important. I think this is the most important. Okay, confirmation message. Yes, the response has been recorded. So this is a message that the student will see at the end of the quiz when he finishes the quiz. Okay, your response has been recorded. You can change this. Where? It's here. You can change it here. Edit. You can say, for example, thanks. I'm trying to save time. That's why. Okay. And here, let's see it. I will show everything in no time. I'll try to make this. So you see now it's changed to be thanks. Okay. So these are show link to submit another response. Yes. So if they want to submit another response, so here it's from here. If you deactivate this, they won't won't be able to again. Okay, we're almost there. So you see, it's no longer there now. Okay, good. View results summary. Yes. So here sometimes the students ask for the results, but most of the time it's not the case. Students, the results I think are really important for the teacher, not for the students. But if you want your students to share and to see their results, you can activate this where they can see the results. This is the autosave of the results of the responses. Sorry. These are the defaults. Okay. Collect information address. So here, if you want some options to be, let's say, changed by defaults. So this means that every time you create a new form, these let's say options won't change. Okay, you change them once. So you say, for example, always collect email addresses. So this means that whenever you create a new form or whenever you create a new quiz, this option would be activated because by default they are not activated. Okay. Again, here it's make questions required by default. This is again very important thing. Okay. If you activate this, of course, all questions. So here, if you go back, this is going to be the last part. Okay. So if you go back here, submit. Okay. And if we go back to the settings, make questions required by default. Sorry, I need the questions first. So here, all the questions now are required. So this means the students cannot move on without answering the question, all the questions. Okay, so if they try to move on without answering the questions, they won't be able to do that. Okay, let me go back now here. If there are any other options that I didn't talk about, I think that everything was dealt with. Okay, so here, these are the responses. Of course, I will show you one real response that, or a list of, an example of responses that I did with my students. But here, of course, you will find the number of responses that you've got. But let's see a real one. Let's see a real class response. So I did this with back students. Okay. So this is the real one. So I've got responses here. I've got 17 responses. It was about lesson 7, traveling survey. So as you can see, I did this in the class. So that's what I mean by formative assessment. So we mean that this is done not at the end of the term to give the students scores. It's just in the class to check whether students, or sometimes it's in the class to do an activity that creates a more interactive, let's say, atmosphere in the class, and it helps a lot, and it engages students a lot to answer, instead of answering a normal, let's say, questionnaire or a normal list of questions. You can opt for the Google Forms, which is a really, really important way to assess whether the students got the and got it right or not. So here we did this in the class, and as you can see, I can opt for the different results. So here is just an example to show how the results or how the responses are, let's say, shown. So you can see the summary, general summary of all the questions. Here, I didn't ask the students to give me their names because it was just an activity, but I wanted just to show you how the responses look like. You can look for a whole summary of all the questions with the different, as you can see, pie charts with the different analytics. It's real time by the way, whenever there is a student that asks a question, it's real time. It means it's at the auto synced to the Google services. You can also check question each question separately, okay, with the different answers. What did they answer, yes or no? Was it, for example, what is your favorite destination here? So the students gave different answers, okay, and a lot of students gave answers. And of course, here I didn't ask the student to give their names because it was not really a formative assessment, but it was just an activity. I tried to show you this. Why? Because it's really uh, uh, interesting to see how the results look like. And here you can look for the individual question, each question with the right, with the each student with the different questions he answered. For example, you find here the name and all the answers he gave. So this means this gives you an information, not only about the whole class, it's also about the students. For example, Ahmed, Sami, how did he get all the questions wrong? What does he have problems with the grammar? Did he answer all the questions? Yes, no. Okay, we'll find out specific information about all these students. When it comes to the questions, you will find out which type of questions the students found it difficult, what was challenging for them. And here you can opt for solutions. And that's why, and here comes the role of forms related to the formative assessment. Of course, you can save all these information. So they are already saved here, but you can also save them. Sorry, you can save them on spreadsheet or on in your computer. You can download them on PDF or Microsoft Excel, whatever the data that you would like to save them in your computer, or share them with us, with your inspectors or with your colleagues or with the students themselves. You can also keep them for yourself to keep track of the different changes that happen to the students' results. That will help you opt for the right strategies to let's say to take the next steps, what you are going to do for to solve those problems that are recurrent. And that's the key point behind behind the title of today's webinar, which is Google Forms as a formative assessment tool, which is really, really important. And I think it's really, really helpful to all of us whenever it comes to the data that it gives to this teachers, and even the students themselves can use it, because we don't only use it to couch the levels of students, but also we use it to collect information. We use it to collect, to talk, or to do assignments, as I said at the beginning of the session. I think that's all. Okay. I try to find the or to deal with the different ways, or the different, uh, let's say things or the different let's say benefits that Google Forms provides us with, and help us to let's say to evaluate our students in the formative let's say process.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bassem. Let me tell you, this was very inspiring, very clear. Let me tell you some of our colleagues' comments. So Mr. Abdullah says, thanks, Mr. Bassem, for sharing and explaining how this tool works. Ms. Monjia says, added to being techie, your English is super good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Awad also says, clear explanation. Thank you very much. So I join all my colleagues in their comments. I have a question here, Mr. Bassem, from Mrs.
Yes.
Duha Bakar. If the score is not good, is there any option to retake the quiz? I think you already mentioned
Yeah, yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is an option, of course. You can just toggle this option. I will go back to it, no problem. So here you are the one who can change this. Of course, here you can decide before giving the form, before sharing. And I forgot to show how to share the the links. I will explain it
Mhm.
now. So you can let's say allow students to give to retake the form. From here
Mhm.
you go to responses, okay, and allow response editing. So here the student can edit his response. And if you want more, let's say if you are let's say so kind and so generous, and I think you are, so you can also switch this off, okay, to allow them to give more than one answer. So because here it's a formative assessment. You don't care, you don't really care about the score. Okay, so the score is does
Mhm.
just there to help you find out the different let's say analytics. But let me first, it's not first, but at the end, share or show you how to let's say how to share this with your students. Okay, of course here there are different ways. Okay, so the easiest way is to use to use the link. Okay, so just use this link. You can go here to send. Of course, you are not going to send it, but if you've got the students' emails, okay, if you are so lucky to get students' emails, because most of the time the students don't have emails, or sometimes they are deactivated. So you can go here, select this one, okay, send via email, and you can just type here the different emails of your students. You can just copy paste all of them, okay, and then you click send, or you can opt for the easiest way, which is the link. You click here, shorten the link, because as you can see, it's very long, because it's got a lot of numbers, and it will be difficult for students. If there is a typo, they won't be able to access the link. So you can just shorten the link, okay, to be shorter. Then you copy it and you send it via third-party applications, WhatsApp, Messenger, whatever. You can just QR code, and then you send it to the students. Then they will be able to access the. We will test this. They will be able to access the form. Okay, so this is the easiest way, or as you can see here, it's as if it's someone else is doing this. So it's very easy. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Bassem. Mr. Kamel is raising his hand. I'm going to let Mr. Kamel speak now, and I invite all the attendees, if you have a comment or a question, to use the raise your hand button for that. So, Mr. Kamel, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Dridi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you
Wow.
very
Good
much.
evening.
I just wanted to thank Bassem for his outstanding presentation, actually. And um, as you have read some of the colleagues' comments, they are really they have enjoyed the presentation. And Mr. Bassem Rahmouni is a member of U-innovate now, because he presented he gave us some presentations in the past, and I would like to thank him again for the efforts. Thank you, Sibasem.
Thank you, Mr. Kamil. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
just I want to confirm the fact, Sibasem, that you raised concerning grading as far as formative assessment is concerned, because formative assessment is not really about grading. And you have mentioned the fact that the point values should be off when dealing with this type of quiz, because it is not the rationale behind formative assessment. In a system, actually, our system is summative assessment based, actually, and we want to move forward towards formative assessment to assess students' learning. And here I just need to remind you all of the difference between assessment of learning, which is summative assessment, and assessment for learning. And tonight we are at the heart of assessment for learning, which is obviously a formative assessment. And thank you again for raising this issue, because and I personally appreciated this mingle of technology and pedagogy. You have mentioned, or you have dealt with one of the modes of formative assessment, which is based on technology and through Google Forms. Let me please just remind colleagues of maybe a map for designing formative assessment activities based on the purpose. When we think of formative assessment, we need to think of the purpose. Why are we really doing it? The mode, and this is one of the modes you have presented. The timing. Now, you have opted for the end of a module or the end of the lesson, but obviously formative assessment occurs during all moments of teaching moments, different moments at the beginning, the middle, at the end, depends. A kind of preparation, the teacher has to think of what she will need to for conducting the formative assessment activity, such as, for example, in this case, technology, preparing a Google form or whatever, and thinking of the assessor, because in formative assessment, not only the teacher assesses students, but students can assess their peers as well. Okay, so here a kind of delegating tasks to the learners. And the assessed, who is going to be assessed, actually, individual students or partners or groups of students or the whole class. So maybe thinking of these different components of the map or the elements of formative assessment. Thank you, and sorry for speaking for more than maybe needed. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Kamil.
Kamil. Yes, so if any other of the attendees has got any question or a comment. So kind of you, dear colleague, Mrs. Duha Bakar says, thank you so much, Mrs. Aida Al-Awishi. Thank you so much, Mr. Habiba. So I'm sure you had a look at the comments, Mr. Bassem. Thanks, Mr. Bassem. A great presentation, Mrs. Morda. Great. So all our colleagues are interacting in a positive way. Thank you again, Mr. Bassem. Now, before ending our webinar and to stay maybe in the theme or in the same topic, some of you asked for certificates. Now, I'm going to share with you in the chat box a link to a Google form. So, and I kindly ask you to fill in the Google form. Please make sure that you put your email, of course, correctly, so that we can send you the certificate of presence in this webinar. I hope it's clear. So all you have to do is to click on the link here that I've just shared. I will share again. All right, so fill in this form, and we will send you the certificates as soon as possible. I hope everything is clear. Thank you, Mr. Bassem, again for this inspiring session. Thank you for all my colleagues for your presence. Thank you. So I hope to see you
for the
in.
moderation and for everybody. Thank you all.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I hope to see you in upcoming webinars. Stay safe and goodbye.